Hello. Hi, Facebook. Hi, YouTube. Just giving you guys a little music before we go ahead and start. I hope you can hear it.
You're like a furnace, you burst into fire. The ground stand is on you, you transform right up in a flash. You spray down right from the ashes. You burst into fire. The ground stand is on you, you transform right up in a flash. You spray down right from the ashes.
Yeah, hello everyone. How are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? This is Michelle L. Forbes coming to you live and direct from Toronto, Canada. And this is My Story Talk Show, the launch first ever My Story Talk Show. So today we have a guest with us in the person of Tevaun Brown. He's a young man from out of the island of Jamaica. And so we want to invite him into the studio and sit and to hear some of his story. Indeed, our lives is a story with many chapters. So today, as we're about to start, my prayer, my hope is that you, and you will be blessed by the life of Tevaun Brown. So stay tuned. Send out the link to your mother, your father, your uncle, your brother, your sister, your auntie, your friend, your cousin, everyone, your high school mate, your primary school mate, your kindergarten mate, everyone, your college mate, your university mate, everyone. Send out the link, invite them, tell them to come along and tune in to My Story Talk Show as we talk today with Tevaun Brown, a young minister from out of the island of Jamaica. And here we have invited Tevaun into the studio. Tevaun, you are muted. For some reason, I'm not hearing you. And I'm not quite sure why, but you can hear me clearly, yes?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I am not sure what's going on, but see if you can figure it out. And let's rock and roll.
All right, let me just adjust this. Can you hear me now?
As Tevaun tried to figure out what's going on with the technology on his side, let me talk with you guys a bit. So this talk show was birthed within me as I was tuning into one popular talk show host, and I was listening to that individual for over a couple of days. And it was in the wee hours of the morning that I think it was after 2 or 3 in the morning as I was listening, the tail part of that talk show. Within me, it rose up. There was just this overwhelming desire to be able to help lives, to help people by means of hearing other stories by which they could identify that, as we have this young minister here, well, if Tevaun would have gone through all that he went through and made it out, is alive, is sane, is healthy, is on track, well, what is it? Maybe I could make it out. And so that is where this talk show was birthed, and immediately I was excited because it's about helping others. It's about helping others to find find their way out, out of whatever it is, whatever situation, whatever circumstance, whatever event would have happened within their lives. It's about helping each and every individual who tune in to this live talk show
Absolutely.
to find
Yes.
their path, to get
Yes.
back on track. Because sometimes we are on the path, but somehow we deviate from the path. Okay, we see Tevaun back on screen. Is it all well with you now, Tevaun?
Yes. Are you hearing me now?
I am not
Are you
clear
hearing
on
me?
what is going on here.
Not. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me now?
I see you with the mic, but the
Yeah.
sound. Your sound is still not coming through.
Oh wow. That. Oh, this should, don't know why this is not
Let me
working. Right?
see.
No, it should be working.
Edit.
I'm getting some on my. I'm getting feedback on my side. Uh,
All right, are you hearing me now?
Is there any difference? No, no.
Are you
I'm
still not
just
hearing me?
trying to read on my end. Okay,
I
I'm not
sound
hearing what
muffled.
you're saying. I'm. You wanna text me, guys? For those who have tuned in with us, please just bear with us. Technical issues. Um, plan for them. Don't want them, but plan for them. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I guess it's on my end. Okay, so we have two guests here, and they both say they can hear you, Tevon.
Oh,
I can hear you, but there is no feed. But I can hear, but there is feedback now. Okay, all right. So let me go ahead and
all right. All right, so can you hear me better now?
okay. All right, I'm going to do a double dagger. All right, so Tevon, I'm going to see how best I could figure this out. But what I'd
Okay.
want for you to do right now is just to go right ahead and
Okay. All right.
go right ahead and
All right.
introduce yourself to the audience.
No problem. No problem. Thank you so much again for having me, Lady Forbes. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to be here. To those who are watching online, those watching on Facebook, YouTube, thank you so much for having me. I must say that it is an honor again to be here, and God is such a good God. He is such a marvelous God, and I just thank Him for everything that He has done and for what He is doing. So my name is Tevaun Brown. That is my that is the name on my birth paper. My name is Tevaun Brown. I'm the pastor and founder of Word and Power Liberation Church. I'm also the CEO of TBI Graphics. That is a graphic designing company. We do social media content, logos, business cards, branding, all of the
Yes, he
above,
is.
motion graphics and all of that. I have to get that out there. Make sure you get that out there. Um,
Yes.
um, I I'm a very young man. I won't tell you my age, you know, but I'm somewhere in the middle. I love the things of God. I love people. I love to see when people are being elevated, people are climbing, people are becoming them better selves. I love to see when people are being lifted, out of their comfort zone into their divine zone. And that has been one of the journeys of my life, one of the purpose of my life, to see people become the best that God has called them to be, to see them operate and function in that capacity that God has called them to be. So that is what I love to do. I'm a musician, I'm a recording gospel artist, I'm a songwriter, book writer, um, a studio engineer, I already said graphic designer. So I do a lot of things. I do a lot of things, and I love the work of God, and I love God. I love the work, and I love God. So yeah, that is pretty much Tevaun. That is pretty much Tevaun. Um, my journey to saying yes to God is a very interesting one. And I've I remember saying to God that sometimes when persons share their story, when you compare your story to theirs, you're saying, God, but my story is nowhere close to theirs. And God said to me that it doesn't matter, your story doesn't have to be as messy as everybody else's, but that doesn't mean that it's not a story. You might not have gone through the dirt and the mud and all of that, but it doesn't mean that it's not a story. um
Okay, just one moment before you
mhm.
move on to
Go ahead.
delving deeper, Tevon. So you shared with us a fleet of things that you are involved in presently as to musician, book writer, graphic artist, man of God, minister, pastor, a number of things that you presently hats that you wear, presently that you carry on your plate. What I would like to ask you is, so that is where you are at presently, right? But what I'd like for you to share is, where did this all begin?
All
There
right.
is, for us who would have been birthed, there is a conception moment when the sperm and the egg meets. There's a conception moment. Where did this all begin for you?
All right. It began two places, in an open back vehicle coming from Portmore, and for those who know Portmore in Jamaica, and also it began when uh, my final year in high school. So I was baptized at 12. Became a Christian at 12. Got filled with the Holy Spirit at 12, and I was attending a church in the country, very cold, and gave my life to Jesus. So my parents told me 1 week before that you're going to get baptized, and I'm like, um, get baptized. I don't meet no girls yet. I don't travel the world yet. I don't know nobody yet. It's so ironic that as soon as somebody mentions baptism, we find all kind of reason that we never had before, which says to me that baptism is a very powerful thing. So got baptized, was in high school. I started in Tivoli Gardens High School. So got baptized at 12. The first thing I did when I went to school was that I told my friends, yo, me a Christian, I get baptized. And I was there. And the first day of going back to school, the devil tempted me and I failed. And so I was in school, person knew I was Christian, but I was not operating as one in school. But when I was at church, speaking in tongues, a part of the choir, at the front seat, part of the musician stand, all of this. But in school, my personality was different in school than it was at church and at home. So when I was at school, they would call me Pedro because I play cricket. So I'm left-handed. Pedro Collins was a left-handed bowler. So I'm left-handed. So because of that, I took on the persona of Pedro. I took on that identity. But when as soon as I left school, I turned back into Tevaun. And when I was at church, I was Brother Tevaun. And so I realized that your atmosphere can affect your personality. Where you are, it can affect your personality. And so seventh grade, eighth grade, ninth grade, 10th grade, going through school, I accepted the norm of being an average student,
Okay.
just do enough to go through all the grades. But I was not conscious of that. If
Mm.
you make a commitment to God, God is going to hold you to that commitment, even if it takes 10 years. And so in my final year of high school, I was in my class. My teacher sent me to his boss to take something out of the document. When I went to the bus, a voice said to me, "Wait, drive the bus, man." He gave me his key too. And a voice said, "Drive the bus, man, drive the bus." I'm like, "No, sir." So I came out, went back in, turned on the engine, and circled Tivoli Gardens High School. When I was coming back, I almost escaped. Almost escaped. Listen, there is no escape from sin. There is no escape for you to see. I almost escaped, but when I was parking the bus, I scratched a teacher's car. Immediately, when I saw the scratch, I went to class, gave him his document, and I left. I called my sister, we're going to church, and I left. From that day, I did not go back to Tivoli. From that day, my mom asked me, "Why you not going to school?" It's study leave, man. I'm in 11th grade. It's study. We have study leave now, so we can stay home for a while. Um, my parents did not know it was because I crashed the teacher's vehicle, because I crashed the teacher's vehicle. So I didn't tell her that, study. My parents asked me, what about the SBA? I didn't know anything about SBA. I didn't even know that there was an SBA before you could do CXC. I knew none of this. So 5 years, I literally wasted 5 years in high school. Wasted 5 years in high school. Some persons thought that maybe I was ignorant, illiterate, I wasn't educated. I didn't, maybe I was a slow child and all that. So somebody recommended. So while I'm home, before this happened, so while I'm home, I finally told my dad what happened. My teacher found my house. I don't know how he found my house. Got in touch with my parents. One whole drama. So and and because of that, I didn't get to do any CXCs. Didn't get to do any CXCs. Things were intense. My parents were upset. My father was upset. And the only thing, my mom went to work, my dad went to work, and the only thing I had during the course of the day to survive on was $100 a day. And the only thing I found myself doing was praying, fasting, reading, praying, fasting, reading, praying, fasting, reading. I guess that's why it's so hard for me to get put on weight now, because I've been doing it so regularly. Praying, fasting, reading, praying, fasting, reading. And then one day somebody recommended for me to go to a school, but the school was, at that time it was called Jamal, and then it was now called JFLL, Jamaica Foundation for Lifelong Learning. Now this school is where you have persons who are like 20-year-old, 16-year-old that don't know how to say the ABCs. Don't still just learning how to read. No, no, no. I am a 16-year-old young man. I know
Mhm.
how to read. I know how to do my work, and I found myself in a position that I'm amongst people who don't know these things. Don't know these things. So I'm saying, God, why am I here? Why am I here? The first thing that God will do to you to get you on track is that He will first humble you. That's the first thing we'll do. He will always humble us first. And God, even though I was above everybody, He showed me that you're not too high to become low. And He placed me in that place. And whilst I was there, I was dominating all the classes, getting all the high grades and stuff like that. But being at that place, I realized that I achieved a lot of the things I did not get to do at Tivoli at high school. I got to do it there. And sometimes we can be in a place that we think doesn't fit us, but that doesn't mean that it cannot build us. Right? You can be in a place that you think, this place doesn't fit me, but that doesn't mean that it is not designed to build you. Sometimes the place where God humbles you is the place where we least want to be. I didn't want to be there. I knew what I had, I knew my worth, but God had to humble me in order for me to understand that if you make a commitment to me, you have to keep this commitment. So while there, a principal from the Heidel group of schools. Now, this is a bougie school, Then they said AC classroom and private and all these things. So she came and she said, "Who wants to be a doctor?" I didn't put up my hand. "Who wants to be a teacher?" I didn't put up my hand. She said, "Who wants to be a pastor?" I put up my hand. And she said, "The person that passes all the exams will receive a scholarship to come to her school." Now, I did not study for any of these exams. The only thing I did as soon as I left school, I either went to a Christian event or I came home and I prayed. And meeting young people stirred a desire for me to say, God, I want to do this. Like it started the process to my yes. It started the process to me seeing that there is more to God than what we see sometimes at church. There is more to God than just having a responsibility but no relationship. There's so much more to God. And I started to see my yes in these young people, because I was saying, I didn't know that they were actually young people like this who were serious about God, not afraid to be on the road and praising, not afraid to be on the road and praying. And I'm like, these people exist. And that provoked something in me, to the point where my first mentor, we are the same age. We're the same age, but the things that he knew, how he operated in the spirit, how he operated as it relates to God. I was saying, no man, you're an old man. You're an old man. We can't be the same age. Seeing this provoked something in me to say, God, I want to serve you for real. Like, I want to take this walk with you serious. I realized that getting baptized, speaking in tongues doesn't mean you're taking God serious. I realized that I wasn't taking God serious. I never said yes. I just did it because somebody
said you need to do it. I didn't yield my will to him, and that process started. That process started. So while being there, I felt embarrassed like school. I remember even one day I went to a Christian event and I asked, which school do you attend? And and instead of writing the school of the name of the school, I wrote another name, and the person came to me and said, "You spelled the name wrong." And I'm like, Jesus, please, oh God, maybe I should just confess, then I wouldn't be this embarrassed. So I was embarrassed about where I am, but I didn't know that the place where I was designed to build me, to get me to see God on a different level, to get me to see, yes, a whole lot of things changed when I started to say yes to God. And when I officially, said yes to God, my appetite changed. I used to take hype bus, whole bag of music I play. I started to take all bus. I used to walk in crowds. I stopped walking in crowds. I became more focused on my walk and my journey with God. So it literally shifted and changed my appetite. It changed my appetite for music, changed my appetite for movies. It changed my appetite to even playing games. It changed my appetite and my perspective of God. So no, I was no longer seeing church. I was seeing God. I was now seeing what I needed to do. I found my footing. I realized that I wanted to be a preacher. And so I said, okay, I started to listen to preachers. The thing about saying yes is that it will change your appetite. It will cause you, it will begin to change your mind, change your attitude, change how you deal with things, how you perceive things. And the more I began to say yes to God was the more I began to find me. And I realized that the me that was in high school wasn't the me that God wanted. He wanted me to become what he had designed for me. And so that the yes, I didn't find it by myself. I found it by being around other people who said yes to God. And that is it. Sometimes we have to understand that sometimes you have to know what yes means by seeing it in other people, by seeing, the commitment and the drive and the hunger of how other people really want God. So I did the exams. Guess who got the scholarship? I got the scholarship to go to Heidel. When I got to Heidel, um, I was now called pastor. Hey, pastor, what go on, pastor, what go on? Because my yes removed being embarrassed. It removed me being afraid. It removed me not wanting to say I'm a Christian. I was more bold when I said yes to God. When I said yes, the boldness came out, the fearlessness came out. I stopped, you know, instead of pleasing friends, I wanted to please God more. So whether or not you want to laugh after me if I'm a Christian or not, that's your business. As long as God and myself are fine, as long as I'm doing what God wants me to do. I got so involved in activities, not just because I wanted to, but I wanted to find God. Saying yes gave me a greater hunger to find God. I would spend hours online just watching videos, hours online just seeking after God, hours reading. I would read, pray fast. I told somebody that at a stage in my life I did a 21 days of fasting, without food and water, and they were shocked and they were like, "How did you do that?" And I said to them, "Your yes will give you the energy to continue. Once your yes will give you that energy to push, it will actually cause you to break the limits that you think you have, that I can't pray, I can't fast, I can't do this. The yes pushed me into that place. So getting the scholarship, I got the scholarship, went to Highdale. And because I know serving God wholeheartedly, I remember one night my mentor went to preach, and while he we were coming back in an open back van, and it was so cold. And I remember looking up in the stars, and I said, God, if you bless me, if you provide for me, if you keep me, I promise I will do ministry all the days of my life. From that day till this day, woman of God, every time I try to get a job, is either they can't find my resume, or they say we can't hire you. So so that covenant that I made with God, say, God, if you bless me, I will do ministry all days of
Wow.
my life. And I said yes
Tevaun,
to
I
God.
want to just have you to pause there for a while.
Mhm.
So I still haven't figured out, for my audience, those who are listening live with us, and for those who will listen to the replay, I still haven't figured out as yet what's going on with because it is apparent that it's my system here. So I am doing the next best thing. As individuals, we improvise. So I'm listening to it on Facebook as Tevon is speaking on my Facebook page on my phone. But there's a little delay in what he shares. But there are some points that I want to go back and touch on as you shared. You shared on your yes. Now, as you your yes was defined as to this is exactly what I wanted to do. And even before I touch there, I want to go back to when you said you started rubbing shoulders with some young people, and it caused you to realize that wow, there are young people like this. You didn't know that there were young people like this in the world that really is hungry for God and want God. And that birth, from what you said, I heard like that birth within you, like God, I want you. I want what I see these young people have. I want to even be there as a bedrock for these young people. Am I correct?
Yes, yes, you are.
Yes. And then you said something else. You said your yes now begin to determine your taste. And so it now begin to manipulate, so to speak, your taste in movies, your taste in what you read, your taste in the things of this world as we walk through our life experience. And that stood out to me as you shared that. Um, and then to go back even further to when you were in school and you shared about you wore the identity of Pedro when you were at school, but then when you left school, you put on the identity of Tevaun. And as you touched on that, right away my mind go to persons who may be tuned in that is wearing the identity of one individual doesn't line up with what God have purposed for your life. As Tevon shared his story today, I am directing you, pointing you back to you, who you are, and who you are in Him, God. As you listen to the words of Tevon's story, as he shares his heart of his journey and what it has been like for him, I am imploring you to just allow the hand of the Holy Spirit to guide you back to direct alignment with exactly where you are to be. Yes? As you continue, please go ahead, man of God.
Yeah. And just to touch back a little bit on that, about wearing the identity of Pedro. I realized that I decided to wear that identity because it made other people feel good. And so many times we do things, we do things to make other people feel good. We wear things to make other people feel good. And even today at church, I realize that one of the things, I realized with David, that David didn't compromise how he felt. He tried on Saul's armor, but it never worked for him. And so many of us are wearing something that is not working for us in the attack, not working for us in the attack, not working for us in the attack, not working for us in any at all. And so I realized that when I began to say yes, I realized that I was wearing things for people. I was doing things for people, but not for God. Even and let me bring it even deeper. Even at church, I realized that I was wearing a lot for people at church. I was. It was very quick for me to say yes. It was very quick for me to say truth can be and doing God. You can live saying being at church and serving at church and say we're doing this for God. But the truth about it is that God does want us to have responsibility, but He wants us to have responsibility with relationship. And what I realize is that I had responsibility, but I never had relationship. I never had relationship. I never had a yes. If persons don't ask me, will I still do it? Am I doing it for God? And that opened up a can of worms for me. So meeting those young people, I realized that they weren't waiting on anybody. They knew what they wanted. They knew what they wanted, and and the yes brought to me commitment and dedication. And that is one of the things that your yes will provoke. It will affect your commitment and your dedication. It will affect your priority. You cannot be saying yes to something and don't make it a priority. Are you going to cook? Yes, I'm going to cook. But is it a priority? Are you going to cook? Yes, I'm going to cook. But is it a priority? Are you going to pray? But is it a priority? Saying yes to God made prayer, worship, word, spending time with Him became a priority. And I realized that the more I made God the priority in my life, the more He began to correct the errors. The more I began to move the knows, the more He began to move the no's. The more I began to say yes, the more He began to move the no's. The more I began to say yes, the more He began to move the no's. The more I began to say yes, the more He began to move the no's.
So one of the things I heard
And
you said just now, Tevon.
and
Um,
when I looked
can you hear me clearly?
at and when I looked at how God began
Yeah.
to move
One
in
of the
my
things
life.
I
I'm not
heard you
saying it
said
was
just
easy.
now, I heard from
I'm
what you
not
said
saying it was easy. It wasn't
was
easy. It wasn't easy at all because I had to learn a lot of things. I had to unlearn a lot of things. I had to
your yes.
relearn
Let me see how do I word this.
some stuff. I had to make some sacrifices. I had to get rid of some friends. I had to get rid of
Okay, so let me
some
back
people
to
from my
go back a
space.
bit. So you mentioned
I had to
about
make
your
conscious
you
decisions
realized that even in saying yes,
that if it means
that it's kind of like the yes
gaining
need to be
God
analyzed
means
because
losing, then I
as
would
you
prefer
begin
to
to
lose
look
to
at yourself and
gain
as you begin to
than
grow in
win
Christ, you realize
and not
that
gain.
there was aspects of your yes where it was more of a
So I
yes
had
to
to make
man
those decisions.
than
So
it was to God.
going to Haidel,
Yes?
you
And so
know,
even as you
one
shared
of
just now,
my subjects
it was
my CXCs
what stood out to me was
and
your yeah, and you mentioned about
and
relationship. what stood out to
and
me
from there,
as you
the
shared
yes,
what you shared just now
the
was,
yes
in
kept on
order
growing and
for
kept on getting better,
you, for myself,
because I
for
realized
the
that
audience to reach to that
if
yes,
I did
because you
say
have
yes,
to
whenever I
first
submitted to
know
God,
what you want.
I
You
would
mentioned that you
get
realized those
something,
young people, they were not waiting on
but
anybody.
I wouldn't get
They knew what they
what God
wanted
has for me. I
and
wouldn't
they
get
were
what
going
He
after
had
it.
designed for
And so,
me,
as you said that, it
So
light
saying
bulb
yes,
just
my
went
yes
off. In order
caused me to
for
change my
you, for me, for
appetite, caused me to change
anyone
my friends,
to give a
caused me
yes
to
and to
change
give
my
an absolute yes, you
atmosphere,
must
caused me to change
know
what I watch, what
what
I
you
listen
want. What are you
to.
saying yes to?
It
And so,
changed
even
a
though you would have
whole lot of
started out
things
saying
in
yes to
my
God,
life.
as you shared your story, along the path you found, as you begin to look closer
So
at your
saying
yes, you
yes
found
really,
that
really affected and
aspects of
changed
your
everything
yes was more
in my
focused
life.
upon yes to man here, yes to man there, yes to man here, yes to man there. And saying yes to man is all good and it's in order because we are servants of the Most High God. So we are here to serve Him and we're here to serve the people of this earth. But it's everything in priority, in balance, set and ordered right. So as you shared that, especially when you touched on, you realized these young people, they knew what they wanted and they were not waiting on anyone. It just came so boldly that in order for any of us to give that yes, you first must know, what is it I want? What is it am I saying yes to? And so even as you would have given your yes, and it would have bring you to right where you are,
Are you
there
there,
are
man of
persons who
God?
will be tuning in, who will be listening and wondering, how is it a young man? I'm sure you haven't reached 40 years yet, would have attained, would a pastor, an author, a musician, a producer of music, a graphic artist, an entrepreneur, a coach, and the list goes on. How is it that you would have been able to attain all that you would have attained in the short life that you would have lived? And as you share your story today, it, to me, as I'm sitting and listening to you, is saying it is completely possible, even when you consider all the things that you would have done, that you were wearing the hat and the cloak and the shoes of Pedro, yet, and was doing your own thing, checked out of high school without your parents' authority and giving you the green light, and just going along your own path, that somehow as you met up, as the meeting took place with you and God, that you gave him your yes. And so you are where you are today. First and foremost, because you decided to give that yes. Because if the yes is not given, there's no way that he can come in and do all that he would have done within your life, Tevon.
Yes,
It
I can.
first starts with that yes. And so even as we are coming to a close, I'd like for you to share your heart with. I know when we spoke first, you shared that there's a number of young people that is among your congregation. And I know that there will be a number of young people that will be tuning in to this live, even after days, weeks, months, years. I want for you to share with them, speak to them as to where they're at, and speak to them as to where they are destined to be by the order of God. I'd like to leave for you to leave that word with them this afternoon. Tevaun, can you hear me? Just one moment, please. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Tevaun? I don't know what you did, what took place just now as you shifted, but there are two persons tuned in are sharing that they can't hear. There's no sound coming from your end. I can hear you. Okay, you can hear me, but somehow your sound have paused in terms of coming through. So as you get it back connected, I would need for you to just go over what you just started with. So that means they wouldn't have heard any of what you would have shared just then. Hearing now. Okay. Thank you, Angelique. Oh, can you hear me? Just one moment, please. Can you hear me? And thank you, Whitney. Okay, hi, folks. It seems as though our wonderful guest is having a bit of a, I would say, Wi-Fi issue, because from the fact that he would have been bumped out of the session, that is not so much technical as it pertains to him, but more the service provider. So I'm hoping that he would come back in to give his closing remarks, and then we can close it out. But it's been quite a ride this afternoon. Oh my gosh. I am enjoying myself. This is my zone. I am absolutely loving it. It is so powerful, it is so liberating when we allow God indeed to order our steps. It's written in the book of Psalms 119, 133. Order my steps, Lord. It is powerful. It is. Yes, he's coming back in. It is indeed powerful, and it is liberating when we just let God have his way and order our steps. So it has been quite a ride this afternoon, up, down with the sounds and things. But I am consider it done.
Yeah.
Working on getting everything copacetic and line upon line, precept upon precept, as it pertains to our broadcast for next week and following. So, pastor, songwriter, author, graphic designer, entrepreneur, and coach, and the list goes on, is back in the house with us. We allow him to just go ahead and give his closing words as he leaves that with young people as they are tuned in now and as they will be tuning in the time to come. Please go ahead.
All right. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me? Let me know if you're hearing me.
Okay,
Oh,
so those who are listening, can you please just give a thumbs up if you can
yeah.
hear? Because I'm
Let's,
still having the issue with hearing Pastor Tevaun.
okay.
So I'm
Okay.
listening on my phone.
All
So if you
right.
could just go ahead and just give a thumbs up or a yay in the comment section to let us know that you are hearing him, please. Okay,
All
wonderful.
right. We're good
Thank
to
you,
go. Okay.
Esther. Thank you,
Great.
Ariana.
Great.
It's a pleasure to
Great.
have you guys in the house.
Great.
Wonderful. It's nice to have you.
All
Yes,
right, Grace.
Pastor
All
Tevaun,
right,
go
so
ahead.
thank you again, man of God, for having me. Thank you guys, everybody, for coming on. Amen. So I was saying, that one of the greatest things, among the other things that the devil loves to do, is to get people off track. And one of the ways is that he allows the issues of life to affect us. One thing I know about, when God plants a seed, He doesn't plant a fig tree. He doesn't plant a, you know weed. He plants a tree, right? And what I know about a tree is that a tree has the ability to outgrow thorns. It has the ability to outgrow thistles. It has the ability to outgrow, in Jamaica we call it maca and wild bush. And sometimes we don't understand is that we were not designed to stay at the level of thistles and thorns. We were not designed to stay at the level of wild grass. We're not designed to stay at the level of wild bushes, but we were designed to produce fruit, right? We were not designed to just spread all over the place and just pick up space, but we were designed to produce a specific kind of thing. And your yes is connected to you producing that specific kind of thing. As long as you stay out of the dimension of your yes, you will never produce what your yes has designed it to produce. One of the things is that with David, and I even spoke about him today. When he decided to step where Goliath was, his yes gave him all the resources that he needed. He never needed another man's armor. All he needed was to do what God called him to do. And your yes is connected to what is on the inside of you. A lot of persons are not seeing, what they want to see in terms of God. It's because we are still struggling with the yes between man and the yes between God. We're still struggling with certain things. But I say to you, that saying yes to God may not be that men will approve. When God calls you to a certain dimension, they will say, I don't think God is calling you there. But it's very important that and be very specific, be intentional, be intentional. I said this to people. Saying yes to God doesn't mean that God is going to fling you here, there, and everywhere. When you're saying yes to God, you're saying yes to a specific task. You're saying yes to a specific assignment. You are saying yes to a specific place, to a specific people. So God has details and is very specific where your yes will take you. Your yes may take you international. It may keep you local. It may take you to communities. It might take you to 14 continents, 100 countries. When you say yes, you begin to activate resources. When you say yes, you begin to open doors because there's a specific reason why Jesus said, behold, I stand at the door knocking. If you don't open that door, then he will only stand knocking. And you cannot receive from somebody if they're just standing and knocking. If they're still knocking, it means that they have not yet received entrance. And the only way they can give you what they have is by you opening that door and give them entrance into your life. So saying yes, you're saying to God, God, if you call me to be a prophet, if you call me to be a man of God, if you call me to pastor 5,000 people, if you call me to pastor even 20 people, if you call me to be, if you have called me to do this, if you have called me to kill giants, if you have called me to be the first man in my family to walk on water, the first one in my family, to kill a giant, the first one in my family to restore, your yes is connected to you getting those tools, or not even getting them, but activating them, because everything you need was before the foundations of the world planted in you. And if you say no, there's tools that are in you that are connected to your yes. There are so many young people, they know what God has called them to, but because of being afraid of what might happen, your yes protects you. Believe it, ladies and gentlemen, your yes protects you. When Moses decided to say, all right, yes, God, I will go, his yes protected him. Moses, who was a murderer, after he left Egypt, when he went back into Egypt, Pharaoh could not kill him. Pharaoh could not arrest him because his yes covered him. Even with Abraham, his yes covered him. And so your yes comes with resources, it comes with protection, and it comes with people. God knew that before Moses could learn to talk, he had to have somebody that was speaking ahead of him. And so he sent Aaron, because God knows Aaron of the chat. But over a period of time, saying yes doesn't mean that you don't need help. Saying yes means that God, if you need to put me under somebody's mentorship, if you need to put me into somebody's space for me to learn what I am to be, because sometimes God will put you in the presence of who you are to be. So if God knows that you are to be the next successful businessman, businesswoman in your family, He will put you among business people. If He knows that you are going to be in a profession where you're going to need to talk, He will put you in the midst of people of who you are, right? Of who you are. And so I realized that because God wanted me to become a pastor, he placed me in the presence of a pastor. He placed me, God will put you where you are. He will put you in the company of who you are. He will put you there. God will never put you in the company of who you are. You will never become, right? And so if you see your company around, if you see who is around you, if you see some of the five most influential people around you, look at them. And if you look at them, if you look at them, you will understand where you are. I knew that I was going to be a preacher, not because my father preached, but because I also saw it in my bishop. I knew that I was going to do music because my bishop did music. I knew that I was going to do motivation because my bishop does motivation. My father does motivation. And so you will know who you are by where you are birthed. You will know who you are by who is hanging around you. I say to you, and I've learned that some of the closest friends I have around me have the same mindset. They're visionaries. They want to do business. They're very successful. They love God. They are very influential in ministry. They're very dedicated to what they do. And one of the things you must understand, and one of the things that you must understand is that if somebody is in your circle that is not connected to your yes, you have to get rid of them. You have to get rid of them because that thing that is contrary will also bring a contrary voice, and it will also bring a contrary sound. And so whenever you're saying, God, I need to do this, somebody will always come and say, I don't think this is God. You don't need people that will say, I don't think this is God. It's either God or it's not God. People who are the yes, when you find your yes, you will find people that will become like an Elizabeth to a Mary. As soon as you begin to speak, something will leap in them. As soon as you begin to minister, something will leap in them. When you know where your yesers are, I don't know if that's a correct word. When you know where your yesers are, as soon the things in your leap, you get dreams about them, you get visions about them, you confirm things. Everything is confirming, line upon line. They get dreams about events that you're going to keep and don't even know that, and they don't even know that you're going to keep that event. So there is a connection. There's a connection, and so you have to first say yes before all of these things come. And you have to know, as I said earlier, is your yes to man or is it to God? Is it to man? Is it to yourself? So there are three things you have to think about. Is my yes to myself? Is my yes to man? Or is my yes to God? Right? If you say yes to God, then you will find yourself. And when you find yourself, you won't have any issues with yourself. So you will say yes to the self that you have found in God. And if you say yes to God, when men come in, you will understand that the assignment is greater than who I'm connected to. Even if they leave, the assignment still stands. A lot of persons, their yes change because people leave. You cannot allow your yes to be influenced by who stays or who goes. If your yes was because of God, even when they leave, your yes must still remain. Even when they go, it must still remain. It must not be affected, it must not be tampered with, it must still remain. So I say to you, wherever you are right now, don't be afraid of saying yes to God. Every day we're saying yes. Even up to now, I'm still saying yes to God. Your yes will never stop climbing because God will always demand greater and deeper things of you. So the Lord bless you, and may your yes remain a yes in Jesus' name.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Oh my gosh. I love it. 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 I love it so much that I took notes. So I wanted to drop some nuggets with you guys as we close out and say ta ta, bye to everyone who would have joined us. We are, first and foremost, we are delighted, we are happy, we're very humbled and honored to have you all as our guest on My Story Talk Show. The launch, the very first ever, as we would have just engaged in conversation, just allowed Pastor Tevaun, writer, author Tevaun, graphic designer Tevaun, music director, producer, writer Tevaun, and it goes on, would have shared with us a chapter or some pieces of the chapters within his story. As he closed out and was just giving, just blessing you guys who would have been listening and who will be listening, there's some nuggets that he dropped that I would like to just reiterate as we close out. He said, as we give God our yes, it opens up an entrance to God and to man within our lives as we give that yes to God. Then he touched on Moses. He touched on Moses and he shares how our yes, as or we give our yes, it comes with resources, it comes with protection, and it comes with people. As we give our yes to God, it comes with resources, it comes with protection, and it comes with people. And just as he was coming on to the ending of what he was sharing, he gave a nugget there and he says it is key, paramount, important that we get rid of the persons, the folks around us who is not connected to our yes. Because they will be saying contrary to what God is saying. And we don't want, you don't want, you definitely don't want anyone within your circle or within your atmosphere to be coming against, to be conflicting what it is that God is saying to you concerning your life. You want to be sure to get in alignment with Him, get in alignment with like minded people who would have also given God their yes. And there's one last thing just popped in my mind that he shared, he touched on just now. Our yes also gives, opens up the door to unlimited. It ties in with the scripture which says, eyes haven't seen, ears haven't heard, nor has it been perceived within the heart of man what God has in store. 2 in Isaiah it says, for those who wait on him. And in Corinthians, Paul got an insight and he says, for those who love God. As you give God your yes, you can go to the bank with expectation. You can put that pot on the stove and know that every provision that is to go in that pot will show up. As you give God your yes, in this season, in this hour, as the curtains are coming down as it pertains to the word of God and our time here on this earth, God is looking, his eyes is going to and fro and looking for some people who will give him an absolute unconditional yes. Whatever you say, God, you can count on me, I'll do it. Whatever. So we just want to say thank you to Pastor Tevaun, our dear brother from out of the island of Jamaica. That's my land of birth. We want to say thank you for coming and joining with us, talking with us, sharing your story with us this afternoon. And as we go, you heard him touched on that he is graphic designer. The graphic design for my story talk show was done by none other than pastor, graphic designer, Tevaun Brown. So if you have an event coming up, if you have a workshop, whatever the event is or a session, be sure to touch on Tevaun. So I'm going to ask him just to share his contact details in case any individual who's listening now or listening in the future who desires to make contact with you, to have you to do some work for them, or even to come as a speaker, or to give some sort of coaching and guidance, whatever it is, whatever service you offer. I'm going to ask you now just to just share how can they get in touch with you and contact you, should they feel the need to reach in touch with you.
All right. So thank you again, everybody. Thank you again. So you can contact me at ministry Tevaun Brown at gmail.com. That is for the ministry side of things. Ministry Tevaun Brown at gmail.com. I'm also on Instagram as Tevaun Brown, where you'll find me as RevTev Official. On Facebook, it's Tevaun Brown Ministries. And and for business, it's tbartgraphics at gmail.com. So that's T as in Tevaun, B as in Brown, art, and graphics at gmail.com. Also, we're on Facebook as tbartgraphics.com. So if you need me for speaking services, for graphic designing, even for coach brand coaching, we definitely give consultation towards that. And just get in touch with us, and we will see what we can do for you to bring your business to the next level and to also help with your ministry as well as your youth department. So God bless you.
Wonderful. So there we go. You guys, we just had our very first of many to come, My Story Talk Show. Spread the word. We're on Facebook page, My Story Talk Show, and we're on YouTube, My Story Talk Show. Until we meet each other again, see you. Bye bye.